Inherently, I'm not much of an extrovert. The whole idea around being either an introvert or an extrovert is long been dismantled, and we now know that everyone sort of exists on a spectrum. Some more so on the autistic spectrum, but a spectrum nonetheless. Personally, I have mixed feelings about interacting with other people in general. It's not like if you're a type A personality, you're this, and if you're a type B, you're this. What I'm referring to is more so feeling like you're both, but on given days and on given times. I know this happens to more people than just me, but to catch you up to speed, I'll go through an example. Say you're at work and it's not a very busy day, so you're just floating about and the mood is light. Your cortisol is low and you're not thinking much about anything. You're spontaneous and deal with every social interaction with the spark of spontaneous charisma that you have. Life is good, and you're cruising through space and time within complete harmony with your inner self. You've achieved the cheese state. Say during this day and during this good energy hour, you come across a coworker who you'd like to be friends with. You guys are not friends yet, but are friends in a way work colleagues are friends with each other. So you dap him up and go back and forth with some gentle banter. Now, when it comes to banter with other dudes, there's levels to this shit, bro. It starts from level one, which is like a cordial but solid gesture when you don't necessarily know someone that well. And then it progresses to level two, which is a more direct and sometimes even a little bit punchy one liner. Then, as many of you guys would know, it progresses, bro. It progresses onto just complete harassment and outright violations, which is level three. Okay, so you're making progress with this one dude that you see good potential in, and now you're standing to make your way up the banter chain. You say some shit about his country, he says some shit back, and so on. Then the interaction ends, and you come out of it with a pretty good understanding of where you think you are with this person, socially speaking. I recently had an interaction like that with a coworker, where he came up to me saying that I'm working too hard or something, and I said something like, "Not as hard as you, mate." And somehow the conversation went into talking about NDIS scams. Now, if you know from Australia, NDIS is like this government funded thing where private companies would scam the government by enlisting fake patients. This led me to making a joke about his ethnicity because he was Assyrian, and a lot of Assyrians were involved in those kinds of scams. No offense to Assyrians, in fact, I'm actually friends with one now. But anyhow, it resulted in a good laugh, and I walked out feeling pretty good about that. Now, here comes another day. And this time around, the atmosphere around work is not cruisy. It's a packed day. And your manager is busy, so you're busy. And everything is just everywhere. You're locked into what you're doing, and things are happening quick. You don't mind this chaos. You don't mind it. Because this may not be like the low cortisol and high serotonin kind of day as earlier, but it's a day. And you appreciate these kinds of days because the contrast between the two is what creates the appeal for the other. So you're getting shit done, and because you're so locked into doing one thing, you're not as spontaneous on your feet with the other things. Now, here comes the tricky part. This time around, when you see your wannabe friend, things are different. You're not in the social zone anymore. And every utterance of anything that you think is funny is just an incoherent string of sentences, if that. Most of the time, when you're in this state, you might even refrain from saying anything at all because you have nothing to say at all. This is undeniably one of the most miserable experiences a human being can have because not only is this an insurmountable loss of aura, but now all of that effort you put into trying to build a meaningful relationship with this one coworker is down the drain, bro. All that effort and sarcasm just for him to look at you in this moment with a face full of pity and disgust. You disgust him. So you find an escape from this misery and find yourself internally reflecting on how much of a dud you are and that no one would want to be friends with you, awkward ass, bro. You thought making a level 3 joke with a level 2 person in a level 1 setting was an okay thing to do. No, it wasn't. And you know that. But now that it's done, and you have to live with the consequences of your decision with the rest of your life. Something like this happened to me the other day. I was locked in at work, and as I came back from a toilet break, one of the dudes goes, "Nice shirt, princess." And because I was so locked in, I walked away kind of like giggling to myself, like a weirdo. Just to explain to some of you social nomads out there, when someone gives you a sideways compliment like that, the level 1 response would be to just say thanks. The level 2 response would be to reciprocate it, like telling me he has nice shoes and add cutie at the end of that. The level 3 response, however, is when you guys are comfortable enough for you to either completely degrade him or giggle like you're his woman. It's hard to explain, but that was not the right reaction to that statement. So now I'm outcasted until I wipe his memory or something. In most cases, when this happens, you go back to yourself in a quiet corner, and from that moment on, you have basically two choices. Choice A, you rebrand yourself as someone who's nonchalant and that they don't really give a fuck about landing the wrong impressions. Because in your world, there are no wrong impressions. And all your actions are an elongation of your super outgoing and raw personality. In light of this characterization, the atrocity that you just committed, trying to talk to your coworker when your attention was clearly somewhere else, is now something that was meant to happen all along. This is just another day in the life, and other people's feelings in regards to you are just not relevant. This choice sounds like it's really good on paper, but deep down, you know that once you go down this route, there is essentially no coming back. You have to live this life in this new identity that you created for yourself forever. There will be no coming back, because what would happen if you couldn't keep up with the act? And now you're like this weird person for switching personalities, and people just find that off. You don't want to come across that way. So what you do instead is choice B. Choice B, which is instead of rebranding yourself to fit into your recent act, you try to catch a rebound. You accept that the last interaction is doomed and there is no saving it. You man up and accept your shortfalls, and more importantly, you at least try not to let it affect your confidence. Hey, mistakes happen. And that was just another oopsie among many others, bro. So you make things right, more so with yourself than with anyone else. You engage in another social interaction with a different coworker. Oof. This time around, you are more aware of your surroundings. And after reflecting for a little bit, the edge that you would normally have to yourself slowly starts to come back. You're a bit more spontaneous than before. So you pick off another interaction with a different person and you keep it nice and easy. You keep it going. You ask them about something harmless on their desk and take that answer to somewhere unexpected, but nothing too daring. And you get a little laugh going. Nice. Now, regardless of your previous fumble, this new win that you just handed to yourself has returned your frame, has returned your composure. Now you're back to being in your true self, no faking it or anything. No longer are you haunted by what happened earlier. You have redeemed yourself. Thankfully, most people are intelligent enough to pick this route. So what happens to those that pick option A? They're outcasted from society because everyone knows what they're doing. It's like when you're playing hide and seek and one of your mates is hiding behind the curtains with their feet clearly showing, or when kids would try to hide from you and they think that hiding their face where they can't see you is enough to make you not see them. It's cute, but it's pathetic. You don't want to be that. These people are the bandwagons of society. Nothing good comes out of someone that can't accept themselves the way they are. Anyways, enough of me blazing the grifters. Now, why does that actually happen, right? In many people's books, this is what is considered as an off day. When things just don't go your way. How do I say this? When there's a bit too much friction in the delivery of your thoughts from your brain to your mouth. The friction that results in these sort of awkward social interactions. But I think that's the wrong characterization for this. I'm not a believer in off days. I'm more so a believer in off timing. Let's take social interactions out of the picture when talking about this. Say for example that this friction, instead of making you look awkward in front of your colleagues, now accidentally made you look funny in front of them. If you think hard about the times when people found you funny, you found that most of those times, it was just a fluke. No offense, most people are not that funny. and humor is generally a pretty subjective thing. So every time you happen to make a large crowd laugh at something, it's most likely happened by accident because each and every member of that group finding that one thing you said funny or the way you said it to be funny cannot have happened without practice. You have either made that joke before and you've had some practice, which by the way, most good jokes are practiced, or it's a fluke. Because here's the truth, as much as you believe that being spontaneous is your thing and you're so good at going with the flow, it's not real. And you only feel that it is because you've done the same thing before, but just don't have a good recall of it. So now that we know that fluking an awkward moment is just as likely as fluking a proud moment, we can safely dismantle the just having a bad day argument. So, what have we learned from this? We learned that chance and timing have more control over the way we interact with someone than anything else. We can't control chance. That's fugazi. Fugazi, fugazi. Relying on chance to come save you when your date is going terribly wrong is like waiting for the second coming. It's it's not gonna happen anytime soon. Or maybe it will, who knows? The timing, however, is something that you can work on. This timing puzzle has been riddling both the layman and comedians since the dawn of time. Even professional comedians need to run their jokes a few times over to get the timing right. So, as you'd expect, there's no magic formula to figure this out. It's honestly very personal, and it depends on the tempo of your speech, your body language, and like 15 other things that I don't even know about. Having said that, one thing that I would recommend to you if you're severely deprived of timing is to slow it down. Slow it real down. Even though we'll never be able to be as funny as someone like Ricky Gervais, I found that slowing down my speech gives me a grip on the other person's attention, and I sort of have control over where I take that attention. That's it for today. Peace.